Good morning. Welcome back to the Teacher's Wake Up Call with Madame la Prof. And this video is dedicated to M. He's a student who watches regularly my channel. Thank you. I'm flattered. Could you get me the other 15 subscribers so I can hit 200 before my YouTube anniversary? That would be amazing. That would be amazing. But I digress. Actually, he's the one who suggested the content for this video, but I'm going to put my Madame la Prof twist on it because I'm not going to talk about exactly what spurred the suggestion. So I'm in the caf yesterday, and I'm doing my cafeteria duty, and I'm like keeping an eye, and I always interact with, I know I'm one of those weird teachers that loves doing cafeteria duty because I get to interact with students. I get to banter with them, I get to know them, I get to connect with them in a different way. They're not necessarily my students, so I love it. I love it. And I get to chit chat with some of the grade 10s, and I only have one group of grade 10 students this year, so there's a bunch of them. I don't know. I have no idea who they are. But there's a handful that, I got to know over the last couple of years. M is one of them. Lovely young man, but just like any grade 10 student, a bit unpredictable sometimes. That would be a polite way of saying it. If he were the only one, that'd be a completely different story, but no, but it's typical. It's typical. Anyway, so his buddy across from him at the table was sitting in a weird way. He was lounging. He had his tuchus at one table and sprawled his legs onto the other table, like on the seats, and and he was like, ready to sip a glass of wine. No, because he's underage, but you know what I mean? Like, imagine that, he's lounging. And I can't remember if it was M that made the comment or somebody else made the comment, said that he was sitting in, and I quote, not my words, in a girly way. And then amongst the guys at the table, they were talking about how there was a manly way of sitting and a girly way of sitting. And to which I said, oh, please do explain. What constitutes a girly way of sitting? And we were talking about how culturally there are mannerisms, there are mannerisms, or there are ways that people will sit. And just because you're a guy, you're not, limited to one way of sitting. Which made me think, there's not just one way to learn. There's not just one way to succeed. There's just not one only way to, I don't want to say to behave in class, but obviously learning success is not a one size fits all. It's definitely something that is influenced by a whole bunch of factors. And it's very easy to fall, even today, in the trap. If you don't study to become a doctor, you won't be successful. Or if you don't become a lawyer, or if you don't go into sciences, you won't be successful. There are still kids these days in grade 9, in Sec 3, secondary, for those who are wondering what I'm saying, secondary 3, Sec 3, grade 9, they say, well, I plan on taking sciences, but why? Oh, because, just in case I want to go into, but do you like sciences? Not really, but then why are you going into sciences? I get it, keep the doors open, but if you don't want to go through that door, what if the door is open and you have zero interest in going, you don't mind peering through the door? I love sciences, but I don't love them. I like understanding, from a observer's perspective. Because the mad calculations that are involved in sciences, that's not my cup of tea. Same thing for math. I love advanced math. I love looking at it going, okay, I see letters and numbers. And I like when someone explains it to me, even though I know I will never be able to actually fully comprehend those calculations and even master a portion of those calculations. But I love trying to understand it. I know some people don't even bother, but I do. That's my personality. That's how I am. So, and I remember when I was at school, yes, I was that, straight A student, and I had the typical path, but I knew that I wasn't going to go into sciences when I failed physics. I failed physics in grade 10, secondary 4, and yes, back then we were taking it in sec 4. I know, crazy. So I knew that moment when I failed that I wasn't going to even consider touching any form of science and math. Math, especially in grade 11, I joke and I say the last time I did any math was in grade 10 because in grade 11 I wasn't all there. And I mean it in the sense that I disconnected so hard from my math class in grade 11 because I knew I wasn't going to need it in CEGEP, despite what my teacher, notre cher Michel Waris, he always repeated that we were going to need this when we were going to be doing calculus, in grade. And I told him, I would mutter under my breath, I'm not going to need this. I'm going into languages next year. So to go back to that concept of success, am I less successful because I didn't go into sciences? Am I less successful because I didn't go into math? Are we defined by other people's notions of success and definitions of success in order to determine whether we're successful or not? Am I happy because someone else tells me I'm happy or not? A big problem with social media is that it exacerbates that feeling of inadequacy when we compare ourselves to others and we see those images and we think that that's the ideal we need to strive for. Same thing, I mentioned it in teaching. We think that teaching should be a certain ideal, and we strive for that ideal, and maybe that ideal is not the real. So your success, and I'm pausing, I love it when I have moments like that. It's like, oh, I didn't know you were there. I didn't know you were there. Your door was closed. I don't like filming with the door open. I don't like filming with a live studio audience. So yeah, is there there isn't one way. I'm not even going to ask the question. There is not one way to succeed. Just like there's not one way to sit. And if you want to sit, if you want to lounge, go ahead. No one should be telling you anything otherwise. No one should be telling you that that's not the right way to sit just because of your gender. Just like you shouldn't be learning a certain way because that's not going to guarantee success. Success by whose standards? Have yourselves a lovely day.